here we are, and coffee made, and 10 chances to 1 if you're tuning into this video, then you're interested in potentially becoming a realtor, or at least the curiosity's got you enough to want to know what it's like. And that's my hope today in this video, is to give you some thoughts on why I got started in real estate, why I became a realtor, and maybe just dispel some misconceptions about real estate as well. Hello, this is Cory. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cory McArthur. I'm a top producing realtor here in London, Ontario. And I shoot these videos as a fun outlet for me. I enjoy doing them, but also hopefully a way to educate you, the public, on real estate, particularly what's going on here in the London real estate market. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's a little bit more personal, but I think it will be fun. So let's dive right in on why I got started in real estate. And to be honest, I've been in real estate, selling real estate for over 10 years now. And honestly, we have to wind back a little bit and look at what I was doing before real estate. I was fortunate enough to graduate university, and I actually got hired at a company that sold capital equipment. And some of you may be like, what is capital equipment? And I was kind of the same, but it was selling machinery is what it was. And I was a sales rep there. Fortunately, I had an in with the boss, and I had married his daughter. So I don't know if he took pity on me or what it was, but he gave me the opportunity to jump into the sales department there and jump in with a lot of guys that were quite a bit older than me. And so I really cut my teeth kind of in the sales industry in there, and I worked there for 3 years, and I quite enjoyed it. And that was during kind of the 2008-2009 recession. And as time went on, I just realized that it probably wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And all the way through university, I had always had a good friend that I was a roommate with, and we shared this common bond of real estate and being interested in real estate all the way from buying it and developing it. And to be honest, I never really necessarily thought about actually selling it and becoming a realtor. Well, he jumped right on it right after university. He became a realtor, and still today we share an office together, and he is literally one of the top producing agents in this area, selling farms and across Canada as well. So I always joke that he lured me into real estate. He kind of told me about how wonderful it was, and invited me down to London. At the time we were living in the GTA, and I jumped at it. I wrote all my courses. I did everything that I could do to become a realtor while I was still working, and I made the choice to move to a city where the only person I knew was another realtor. They weren't going to buy a house from me, and all based on a dream that real estate might provide a different opportunity for me. So I think it's easy for the real estate career to have a strong allure to people. We just look at realtors and we see them, they're basically door openers, right? They get to go look at houses and hang out with people, and they write big checks or get big checks, and that's kind of the perception that people have of real estate. They drive fancy cars, life is awesome. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't have a bit of that perception as well before I joined real estate. And the reality is that sometimes that's part of it, but it's certainly not all of it, and definitely not the majority of it. One of the reasons that I jumped into wanting to be a realtor, aside from just knowing that I was in a career that I didn't necessarily love, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I liked the idea of coming to a smaller city and getting out of the GTA, so that was a factor as well. But aside from that, I think real estate presented something in me where it allowed me to be my own boss. And there's definitely a certain appeal to that. And I think that that's probably the appeal that a lot of people have when they jump into real estate. And while there's some truth to that, and this is something that I've heard multiple people say, as much as you think you're your own boss, essentially your clients become your boss. You answer to them. And in real estate, your clients don't take days off, or they want to go look at houses when most people are winding down their work days, whether it's dinner time or the evenings or your weekends, all of those things, those are the hours that folks want to look at properties. So the other piece of the puzzle for me was I thought it would be something where I could make a little bit more money than I was making at the time. And part of the appeal to real estate for me was I thought, okay, I can potentially grow my income in this career, and there's really no ceiling on where I can get to. The struggle, I think, is that I underestimated how difficult it would be to find clients, especially as I moved to a city where I knew nobody and I had to go out there and find clients myself. So the reality is that probably the first 2 to 3 years for me were really difficult. In fact, I would find clients by sitting in open houses and meeting people that way. I would knock on doors. I would send flyers in certain areas where maybe I had just helped somebody buy or sell a house and try and drum up business that way. Part of it was I just didn't have a ton of confidence either, because I hadn't sold enough to give me kind of that confidence that I needed to go after it. So I struggled through those first 2 to 3 years, and I think that's very, very common for people that get into real estate. I think the stat is that after 5 years, close to 85% of the people that started in real estate are gone. There's a reason that happens. There, and that's one of them, is the fact that I think people think that you get to collect all this money and you get these huge checks. And at times you do, and that's part of the business, but there's lots of days where that doesn't happen, and sometimes there's lots of years where that doesn't happen. In fact, I think the first 3 years of selling real estate, I probably made less than I did in my previous career, but I just was stubborn enough, I guess, to stick it out, and in all honesty, I didn't really have any other options. I left the career that I was in, I left the city that I was in, and the prospect of going back out and trying to find a different job in a sales business potentially, where I thought, or any other business where I thought, okay, I'm going to be potentially on a salary, my income is going to be capped, and I was always just a little bit, I'm just going to see it a little bit further, and fortunately for me, my career did take off there in my 4th year of selling real estate, and I haven't really looked back since. I touched on this before. I think one of the appeals for me too was this idea of having freedom in real estate, and it meant freedom of time and just freedom to kind of craft a day the way that I wanted to craft it. And I think that there's some truth with that, and that's certainly appealing, but in those first couple years where I had the freedom to do what I wanted, but didn't necessarily have a ton of clients, I think it created some anxiety in me as well, where I didn't know exactly what to do each day. There was mornings where I woke up and I thought, what am I going to do today? What does my day look like? And now, for the most part, a lot of times my weeks are almost scheduled a week in advance, 3 to 4 days in advance. I kind of know what my weeks look like. My appointments are set. There are times where I do have to accommodate client schedules and maybe show them stuff over the dinner hour. But now I've created this career where I'm home most nights for dinner. I don't really work too much on a Sunday if I don't have to. But at the same time, if we're in a busy season and clients need to see homes in a really busy market like this, then I make that happen. So as much as I've created some freedom of time for me in the sense that I get to dictate my schedule, there are still moments where there's other people dictating what I have to do, and I have to tell my wife, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be home Saturday morning, or I won't be home for dinner tonight. And some of that stuff I don't particularly enjoy about real estate, but it comes with the territory, and that's part of being a realtor. For anybody that knows me, at least knows me fairly well, probably knows that I'm an introvert. I'm not somebody that necessarily gets super charged up by being with other people. And being in a sales business, sometimes people scratch their head at that, and sometimes I do too. It's not something that I would ever change about who I am in real estate, because one of the things that I've found for people, and part of this is personality, it's not just being an introvert, it's also that I've had a lot of clients say, I appreciate your calm demeanor, I appreciate that I can trust you very quickly. I'm not a grand person in my personality. So I think that that has served me well, and I know that there are folks out there that do want a realtor that is flashy and has that grand personality, and they oftentimes confuse that for the energy or work ethic that they are going to put behind their properties. If anything, those are the types of folks a lot of times I see come into the business and peak and then they're gone. And if anything, it's the realtors that have that calm and steady personality that are the realtors that have been selling real estate for 20 plus years and have a wonderful, wonderful business. Because I'm an introvert, I tend to get exhausted at times when I go through busy seasons where I go through a month or months of working a lot. And that's part of the business as well, is that it can become mentally exhausting to not only be managing relationships, and as people go through selling their home, it's a very, very emotional, stressful thing. It can be very exciting as well, but you have all these ranges of emotions, and that's the thing, is as a realtor and you're guiding them through that, you're educating them on the process, is you need to be the constant, and that also means emotionally as well. I would just say be mindful of who you are, and I'm saying there are all sorts of characters in real estate, and there's all sorts of different types of folks that do very, very well. So it's not to say that one is necessarily going to do better than the other, but I know that that was a hurdle that I had to overcome in my early days of not necessarily loving interacting with people as much as others do. Sometimes that could mentally be a bit exhausting for me when I had to force myself through some of that in order to build a business. And now I'm fortunate enough that most of my business comes by past clients and referrals, so I usually have some basis of a relationship with whoever is calling me already. Hopefully you found this insightful. It gives you a little bit of a glimpse into what my journey was like and what the real estate journey can be like. It is an interesting business. There is a lot that goes on behind the scenes as well that a lot of folks underestimate or don't understand, and they think that real estate is basically, I've heard lots of people say that we're glorified door openers, and that is somebody that doesn't necessarily understand what a realtor does, because opening doors for people is such a small percentage of what we do and the value that we provide to the public. So I hope you found this fun and somewhat insightful. If you have, I would love for you to hit the like button. If you have a specific question for me, leave a comment down below, and maybe we'll include it in a Q&A down the road, but I would love to answer those questions. Other than that, I hope you are all having a wonderful day, and until next time, get out there and right now, enjoy the sunshine. Take care.